Well, that was certainly exciting to watch. Hello, everybody. Welcome to After Action Report here on the Call to Action podcast channel, your numbers recap show for all SHANNON matches to keep you caught up on all the action. I'm your host, Megs, and we are going to be breaking down all the matches from this past week, including the pay-per-view event, so spoiler warning ahead for that. But during this week, we had a little bit of deja vu in the IG division with the tournament, as well as seeing that the riders seem to have kicked it up a notch a little bit for this singles tournament, and the IG slices that are available to singles competitors certainly came into play during our pay-per-view event. Before we get going, everybody please make sure that you have hit like, leave a comment. We'd love to interact with you in the comments as well as on social media. If you want to interact with me personally, my handle is down here at the bottom of the screen, as well as in the description of this video, and as well as the Call to Action Podcast official channel. Feel free to interact with me there, and I will also be checking the comments. And if you have not already, please go ahead and click subscribe. That way you can be made aware of whenever I post videos, as well as everything else that's going on here on the Call to Action channel. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into what we saw this week. We saw the IG tournament. Still here in round one, we saw Brandon Hanna go up against Saul. Singles tournament, we had two round one matches with Liz Shannon Miller facing off against David Del Rio. Another round one match between Drew McWeeny and Ty Lieberman. And then our throwdown event were two number one contender qualifying matches between Jeff Snyder and Chance Ellison, and Adam Collins versus JTE. To kick things off, we saw Brandon Hanna facing off against Saul. This is a rematch from the IG tournament last year, where Hanna was the one who knocked Saul out of the tournament. But coming into the first round of this match, we saw that they are tied at 7, neither of them being able to get the perfect round there. Both of them missing the Transformers and mixed bag questions, Hanna missing a graphic novels question, and Saul hitting an animated question. Moving into the second round, like I said, they are tied. Saul elects to spin first, where he spins away from its mixed bag and ends up taking Spider-Man, where he is able to come away with 6 out of 10 available points, checks down to multiple choice once, misses that question and a 2-point question, but they are not stolen by Brandon, who on his spin, he spins away from DC, ends up taking scores and soundtracks. He comes away with 5 out of 10 available points, checks down to multiple choice twice, gives up one of those multiple choice questions for a steal, as well as a 2-point question, which are both taken by Saul. So at the end of this round, we see that Saul is able to gain 4 points to now be up by 4, 16-12, going into the third and final round, where Brandon is able to hit a 2-pointer in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but misses a 3-pointer in DC and a 5-pointer in Transformers, which does give Saul the win via TKO, with a final score of 16-14, where Brandon Hanna answered 11 of 20 questions for 55% accuracy, scored 41% of 34 available points. Saul answered 12 of 17 questions for 71% accuracy and scored 67% of 24 available points. So I mentioned we had a little bit of deja vu with this match. If you will notice that this final score of 16-14 is the same result of the Oyama and Irwin match from last week, and also that match did also end in a TKO. There was some differences in the round 1 and round 2 point differential, but ultimately the end result was the same. So again, a little bit of deja vu there. Hanna was unable to take advantage of 2 steal opportunities, so he was able to, or ended up leaving a lot of big points on the table, including those final 2 questions. But Saul, once again, proving his dominance and picking up another TKO to move into the second round of this tournament, which he will be facing the winner of Chance Ellison against Moose Haas, which we'll be seeing later on this week. So let's go ahead and move into our next match for this week, where we saw another rematch with Liz Shannon Miller facing off against Diamond David Del Rio. These guys had faced off once before back in 2019. I'll be breaking down more of those stats after we are done with this one, but this is a round one matchup here in our tournament. Coming into round one, they are both tied at 6 points, neither of them being able to get a perfect round there, both missing a question in comedies, David missing a question in mystery films, and Liz Shannon Miller missing that final question there in directors. Coming into the second round, Liz decides to defer over to David, who he decides to take Amy Adams on his first spin. He is able to come away with 7 out of 8 possible points, checking down the multiple choice once, but not giving up any steal opportunities. We go over to Liz's spin, who spins away from her first spin of monster movies and ends up taking 2000s. She also comes away with 7 out of 8 points, checking down the multiple choice once, but not giving away any steal opportunities. So at the end of 2 rounds, they are still tied 13-13 going into the third and final round, where it is back and forth. David hits a 2-pointer in comedies. Liz hits her 2-pointer in coming of age. Back over to David, who hits a 3-pointer in black cinema. Back over to Liz, who hits her 3-pointer in fantasy sci-fi. David hits a 5-pointer in 2000s. Liz Shannon Miller is unable to hit her 5-pointer in Disney, which does give David the win with a final score of 23-18, where Liz Shannon Miller answered 12 of 15 questions for 80% accuracy, scored 67% of 27 available points, and David Del Rio answered 13 of 15 questions for 87% accuracy and scored 85% of 27 available points. As I said, we're a little bit of deja vu here. These guys did face off once before back in June of 2019. This was both of their second matches inside the league. They came in as rookies in the same season. The end score of that match was 11-13. So back to this match, they were tied at 13 going into the third round. So already both of them have shown some definite growth in their own gameplay to be able to get higher point values inside of their first and second rounds. In the accuracy for that first match, again back in June of 2019, David had a 56% accuracy versus this match again at 87% accuracy, and Liz had a 63% accuracy match in that first one, and this last one she was at 80%. So again, both of them have made great leaps and bounds in their gameplay, so it was really cool to get to see them face off again, having had a chance to mature inside the league on their own. Something else that I want to make note of in this final round, we saw that when Liz rendered her final guess in Disney, she actually had 2 JTEs still on the table. I don't tend to talk too much about strategy on this, so I tend to concentrate more on the numbers, but that is something that I make note of when competitors are not taking advantage of the full opportunities to repeat those questions. If you have even an inkling that you can try and wager a little bit more educated of a guess, use those available JTEs. More on that to come later, but let's go ahead and move into our next match. This is another round 1 tournament match, where we saw the Godfather, Drew McWeeny, face off against the Tyrant, Ty Lieberman. Coming out of the first round, McWeeny is up by 1 with final scores of 5-4 here in that first round. So again, talking about the riders upping up the intensity, both of these guys struggled a little bit there in that first round, only able to put up 5 and 4 points respectively. But coming into the second round, McWeeny defers over to Ty, who he decides to take famous actors and actresses on his first spin. Also noting that this is the third match in the Cantina series, so we are dealing with a physical wheel this time. Ty is able to come away with 6 out of 8 available points, checks down to multiple choice twice, but does not give away any steal opportunities. McWeeny spins away from wrestlers in film and ends up taking John Carpenter, where he comes away with 7 out of 8 available points, checking down to multiple choice once, but again, not giving away any steal opportunities. So Drew McWeeny does gain an additional point to now be up by 2, 12-10, going into the third and final round, where Ty hits a 2-pointer in scores and soundtracks, goes over to Drew, who hits a 2-pointer in crime, back over to Ty, who hits a 3-pointer in biopics. Drew hits his 3-pointer in disaster films. Ty hits a 5-pointer in sports. And finally back over to Drew, who misses a 5-pointer in thrillers, which does give Ty Lieberman the win with a final score of 20-17, where Drew McWeeny answered 11 of 15 questions for 73% accuracy, scored 63% of 27 available points. Ty Lieberman answered 11 of 15 questions for 73% accuracy as well, so same accuracy there for both competitors. And he scored 74% of 27 available points. So as I said before, their accuracy was the same towards the end, but it was the difference in having that 5-point miss for Drew McWeeny that ultimately sealed the deal to where he is unable to maintain the lead that he had in rounds 1 and 2, where he was up by 1 in round 1, gains an additional point in round 2 to be up by 2, but that 5-pointer was a great equalizer that did give Ty the win. And on a side note, Ty is quickly becoming one of my favorite personalities inside this class of rookies, just the way he plays and the way he engages and quips with his other competitors inside the game. A lot of fun to watch. Again, this was also, as I said, the third match inside the Scum and Villainy Cantina series, so we're dealing with a live setting, studio crowd, the physical wheel, all those great and awesome things that we love about the Schmodown. So really great to see some of these rookies getting a chance to shine inside of that format. And again, not to harp on these other veterans, when McWeeny had his 5-point question there at the end, he does take his time and he repeats it, but he did have one more repeat available. He said he was in the post-match interview thinking about several different movies that it could have been had he given himself that additional time with that last JTE. Could he have gotten there? Never know. Something to think about when you're watching these guys play. Think about what they still have available to them that is afforded to them by the game. You have those rules for a reason. Use them if you need them. But we are going to go ahead and move into our next match. But before I do, I want you guys to leave a comment or send me a message over on social thinking about this question. Drew McWeeny has a 14-4 teams record. His singles record is 5-7. So thinking about him going into this next team's tournament with Paige Ferbetti, where he seems to be much more comfortable having that team's partner with him and is consistently having more success. Do you feel that Drew McWeeny is overrated in singles because of his team's success? Just something to think about. Make a comment down here on this video. Love to have chat and conversation about that. But let's go ahead and move into our next match, which is going to be the first one in our pay-per-view, where we saw Jeff Snyder facing off against Chance Ellison in, again, a #1 contender qualifying match. The winner of both of these pay-per-view matches will face each other in a #1 contender match to see who will be facing off for the championship. Coming into the first round of this match, these guys are both tied at 7, both of them missing a comedies question. But again, we're tied at 7. Going into the second round, Snyder defers over to Chance, where he spins opponent's choice, and Snyder elects to give him Wizarding World. We're just going to stop there for just 1 second. There has been a lot of people that have mentioned that this was not a smart move, giving a IG #1 contender from last year a IG slice that he clearly put on the wheel. Snyder claims that he was trying to get it off of for him because he has had trouble with Wizarding World in the past against Oyama in previous seasons. So however you stand on that, one thing I will note, you giving your opponent a slice, you need to guarantee yourself that you can get some steals and or you can definitely get more in your spin than they did. By giving a strength to your opponent, just logically here, you are requiring that you have to go near to perfect to stay in step with your competitor if you are not given any steal opportunities. But let's take a look at how things actually played out. Chance is able to get 6 out of 8 available points. He misses one question for 2 points. He does not elect to check down to multiple choice, and Snyder is not able to steal those points. So like I said, we're already a check in the box there that you would love to see, where someone would get a steal opportunity and be able to capitalize on it. That's not able to happen. Snyder does spin away from Guillermo del Toro on his first spin and ends up taking Thrillers, where he is actually able to sweep this round for the full 8 out of 8, not giving up any steal opportunities. So Snyder does gain 2 points to be up by 2, 15 to 13, going into the third and final round, where we see Chance hit a 2-pointer in Oscars, goes over to Jeff, who hits his 2-pointer in Brad Pitt. Chance misses a 3-pointer in Tom Hanks, where we stay with him for his 5-pointer that he does hit in the category of Denzel Washington. Back over to Jeff for his 3-pointer in fantasy sci-fi that he misses, and also misses a 5-pointer in new releases, which does give Chance Ellison the win with a final score of 20 to 17, where Jeff answered 12 of 16 questions for 75% accuracy, scored 59% of 29 available points, and Chance Ellison answered 12 of 15 questions for 80% accuracy and scored 74% of 27 available points. So we're not going to harp on this one too much longer, but again, the idea that Snyder took Wizarding World off the wheel for him, he was able to sweep his category round, which does put him ahead going into this third round. However, if we look at how things broke down in that third and final round, had Snyder been able to hit his 3-pointer, they would have gone into sudden death, all other things being equal. Had he hit his 3-pointer and or just his 5, he wins the match. So Chance is really on a roll with his singles tournament this year, but he's about to try and get the singles title, but he caught a break in this match, especially with missing that 3-pointer there in Tom Hanks. So we're going to see how things go. Chance is going to be facing off against the winner of this next match, which is his faction mate, Adam the Coyote Collins, facing off against Little Evil JTE. Coming into the first round of this match, these two are tied at 6, both of them missing 2 questions there in that first round. Both of them missing a new releases question, Collins missing that first animated question, and JTE missing a famous actors and actresses question. Coming into the second round, I told you that IG categories came into play here. Collins spins first, and he takes Middle Earth on his first spin. He is able to come away with 5 out of 8 available points, checks down to multiple choice twice, misses one of those questions on multiple choice, but is not able to lose anything as JTE does not pick up the 2-point steal. Going over to JTE's spin, he takes Angela Bassett on his first spin, comes away with 7 out of 8 points, checks down to multiple choice once, but does not give away any steal opportunities. And just to comment on this a little bit further, Collins taking Middle Earth, thinking he's well-versed in IG categories. He has said so in previously. That category may have caught him off guard a little bit, having to check down twice, not able to get in as many points as I think he would have hoped. And we got a little bit of a snippet of the old JTE that we know and love from previous seasons. He checks down to multiple choice in that final question because he doesn't want to mispronounce the character's name. So a little fun callback there to JTE still being the same one that we know and love from previous seasons. But now, looking at where we are at after this round, we see that JTE gains 2 points on these rounds to where he is now up by 2, 13 to 11 going into the third and final round, where we see Collins hit a 2-pointer in Julia Roberts. JTE hits his 2-pointer in the 1980s. Collins misses a 3-pointer in Pixar, goes to his 5-pointer where Collins does hit it for 5 points in Crime. Back over to JTE, who hits his 3-pointer in Drew Barrymore, as well as his 5-pointer in Animated, which does give JTE the win a final score of 23-18, where Adam Collins answered 11 of 15 questions for 73% accuracy, scored 67% of 27 available points, and JTE answered 11 of 16 questions for 81% accuracy and scored 82% of 28 available points. So going back a little bit on the third round, Collins' miss in the three-pointer in Pixar was a casting question, whether he was not paying close enough attention to the question, and a couple other things that happened during this match. Again, the IG category was a little tougher than maybe he was anticipating or prepared for. Those early misses there in round one. Collins may have had a few cobwebs knocking around, so hopefully he has knocked those off and he is primed and ready to make a run in the tournament. As this is still only a number one contender qualifying match, Collins is able to go into the singles tournament, so we will see him attempting to make a nice run there. But JTE is also on a big streak himself. He will face off, like I said, against Chance Ellison in the number one contender match as he qualifies now. And we see him, though he does still have those fun little quips of not wanting to mispronounce anything, he is logically working through the game and showing very good strategy in being able to navigate through that animated question for 5 points. So really excited to see how he and Chance Ellison face off, and we shall see how all that plays out. But that is all the matches from this past week. Before we head out, please make sure you have hit like, leave a comment, leave several comments. Would love to talk to you about all the different things that happened during these matches. And if you have not already, go ahead and click subscribe. We've got a lot of fun programs here. No Chill, we've done several episodes of that with Nat and Dylan. Those are a lot of fun to watch. Check out Call Live here on this channel that normally airs on Sundays. Go back and watch some of those interviews. We get some really fun interactions with competitors there, as well as over on Twitch on Wednesdays. Nat and Dylan host a show over there where they talk about just about anything. You can jump in the chat, offer comments, give them topics to talk about. It's a lot of fun there. So that will do it for today. Go ahead and make sure that you are following along with us on our socials. My personal one is on there, as well as the Call to Action Podcast official channel. But until next time, for the entire Call to Action Podcast channel, I'm Megs. This has been After Action Report, signing off.